So again, I want to welcome everyone to our weekly biofeedback class. You can attend as many times as you want. This class is always given free to our community because we want you to be able to have support and know that this is a living, breathing technology where we come together and we talk about it and we all advance this field together. So welcome everyone. If you'd like to be part of our session today and you'd like to be a volunteer for a scan today, then please go ahead and jump in, send me your name and date of birth, and we can talk about your case. I really want to welcome Carol from the UK. I think you're back from holiday, and I want to just welcome you to the class. And Candace is here, and Candy is here. Carolina is here. Welcome, Carolina. Welcome, Colette. Colette, thank you very much for your enthusiastic referrals. I'm so grateful that you've introduced some of the people to the genius that you have. They are super excited about the potential. So warm welcome to you. David M is here. Welcome. Diane. Diane, thank you for being part of our endocrine regeneration group. And you can still jump into that class. And Edna's part of our endocrine regeneration group as well. Tina is here. Tina checking in from Reno. So glad that you're here. Thank you for joining us today. Karen, our amazing healer from Canada, is here. So grateful that she's able to make it today. Jeff from the East Coast is here. Welcome, Jeff. Jan is here checking in from Canada. Sherry from Canada. So glad. I think Bill is here along with Mary Lee. Always love having you guys along. All right, so anyone who feels like jumping in, if you have a client you want to tell me about, this is a good time to do that. Sharon M is here. I haven't seen you on our class before, so a warm welcome to you. Okay, well, while we're figuring that out, I wanted to tell you that, you know, those of you who have read the work of Bruce Lipton and have studied some cell biology, you probably know that one of the most important vehicles to healing is a healthy cell membrane. So that's something that I'm working on, and we can look at this a little bit. You also can do this in your libraries. While we're waiting for a volunteer, could just talk about the fact that your customized libraries, whether you get them from me because of the naturopathic piece or you create them yourself with your own supplements and your own affirmations, they can become a tremendous ally and greatly enhance what you're doing on the genius. So the ability to create either imprinted or holo-linguistic, that's where you type in the words, libraries is one of the most amazing parts of the genius. I have to do a tip of the hat to the developer because he allows, instead of being so egotistical that only my panels that I've put on the genius will do, he has said, you know, you bring in your creativity. What do you want on here? What remedies do you want to be a part of this? And not every technology has this ability, and particularly one you can put on a tablet. So back to the cell membrane, the idea is that if the cell membrane, which is the sort of the boundary or what your cell is contained in, right? And you have billions and a trillion of these all over your body, is that at the very level of the cell membrane, you're drinking in nourishment just like you eat, and you're releasing everything that you need to release. So if your cell membrane is healthy, then you are healthy. And in fact, we want to think about receptivity at the level of the cell membrane, the cell membrane receptors, and even just being open. When we're open to healing and we're open to affirmations, we want to bring up ideas and thoughts of being healthful at the level of the cell membrane, being receptive, being open, sending love to the energy of the cell membrane. So you could do an entire customized panel on this, and you'll have your own, you know, take on this yourself. But I've just before the class created a cell membrane category. In order to continue with this, I'm going to tap on 0 items. I'm going to hit cancel, and then I go to import in order to start creating my customized libraries. This is all in my training program that you get with the package when you get your Genius. And I wanted to just pause here and make a comment that when you do chelation, I've always been, it's not to say all chelation is bad, but I've always been hesitant. I'm always hesitant about doing anything invasive. So certainly surgery wouldn't mean by, with a humble heart, I say, surgery in instances where it's truly needed, and hopefully everybody on here just never need it. So anything invasive. And chelation in the natural health community has always been like, chelation is great. And it's not that it's bad for every person, but if you guys follow Dr. Marshall, who passed away recently down with Premier Research Labs, he used to say his concern was that when you chelate, it actually disrupts the cell membrane. And that always just sort of stuck in my head. So having a healthy cell membrane, very, very important. So you could do things like healthy, and you don't always have to say cell membrane because it's kind of inherent in the fact that it's a cell membrane category. But you could say healthy cell membrane, permeability was the first one that I wanted to do, permeability. And you can just import that. And then you can go, love at the level of the cell membrane, healthy phospholipid, healthy boundaries, because that's a metaphor for good boundaries. At the level of the cell membrane. So healthy cell membrane permeability, healthy cell membrane or optimal cell membrane receptors. And what I would do once this is created, I'm going to create a more elaborate one later and let everybody know about it in the newsletter. Once it's created, anyone who has sent me a referral in the past 30 days, okay, if you've sent me a referral in the past 30 days or you send me a valid referral in the next couple of weeks, I will be happy to export this to you. So I really want to thank the affiliates who have been helping to expand everything that we're doing. I just really thank you from the bottom of my heart, and people are so happy to get the Genius. So optimal cell membrane receptors. So this is the power of biofeedback. You may read about physiology and learn about physiology, but how do you activate it? How do you make it relevant in your life? The Genius is a vehicle to doing that, because you're taking your desire, your concept for what you want to achieve, and you're able to focus these frequencies in order to do it. Okay. You could just do love to the cell membrane. It has been said that everything else could be disrupted. So the telomeres and the DNA could actually be disrupted, but if you have healthy functioning cell membrane, that is the key. That is the key to getting well. So just by sending this divine energy to the cell membrane, in addition, always running these healthy cell membrane panels in whatever else that you're doing, especially if you have cancer. So proper release, because you want to release everything, all of the metabolic waste. You can even imagine having the proper fatty acids. That's very important. One of the things about the trans fats was the concern that they were getting trapped in the cell membrane and there was no way to get them out, to properly replace them. They just sort of got jammed in there. And that was a real concern about with the harm at the level of the cell membrane. So this is the kind of, thing that you can create. We don't even know what the potential is for all of this. So let me know if sound is still okay, you guys. So Ramesh says he'd like to volunteer. Ramesh, do send your date of birth. I just got one for Ben from Karen, or from Canada. So let's go ahead and look at Ben. We'll put in his information. And so just kind of think about that. We can even include this cell membrane panel. I'd like to get more things on the panel, because a good panel is probably about 10, 15, even 20 frequencies to really get a sense of what's going on. And then if you're just using it to direct frequency, you could just do a few things. So I need to just turn off the viewer for just one moment while I put in Ben's information. So I guess let me know, is Ben there with you, Karen? I would want to know that. All right, so I think you send his information. So we're going to put in the date of birth, and we'll get that in there. So I think just let me know if he's actually there, if we could get his voice recording. If we could get his voice recording, that would be great. So many of these are possible. Many of these custom libraries are possible for the DNA, for the telomeres, which we've created. We've created some of these panels, but for methylation, all of this is really up to you and your creativity. When you think about it, creativity is so important, and we have been sort of broken or disconnected from that creativity in the most traditional forms of allopathic medicine. It's pretty much one size fits all. One disease, maybe one or two prescriptions that are available from different companies. And this brings in the creativity at the core level of your being to create solutions. And now you're really involved, and you know that you are an active part of the solution. It is immensely important for you to know that. It's not a doctor in a white coat that's magically, creating this. It's you that is creating. And in fact, there's much more potential for that person to create sort of a negative experience, right? In the diagnosis and the words, putting a spell on you in a not so optimal way. Okay, I don't see Ben on maybe he might be signing in with your link, Karen. I think that's what it is. But I did get his picture in the scan. So let's go with it. And if you could tell me maybe what he is experiencing so we know what we're working on, give me one or two things that he is really hoping to work on, and we can go from there. So we've entered his picture. I kept it offline. We've entered his date of birth, and I've done that prior to jumping in here. Okie dokie, so we're ready to roll. All right, so the first thing that we do when we get into a case, let's see if we have any other information. Okay, so he has dealt with a pretty serious cardiovascular event. I don't, when was this particular event? Please, please let me know when the event was and anything else you want to share about it. Okay, that's excellent. I'm grateful and so thankful that Ben has joined us today. So let's go ahead and let's just get a look. The first thing we do is we look up and down, and the first thing I notice, at least in the beginning, is that we weren't getting a lot of red or a lot of blue. I guess, Karen, the important thing is to ask is perhaps you've been working on Ben over the weekend. We are going to get his picture in there, but we can see it just a little bit. And so we'll have him on here. Let's get a first read of the aura. And then we use it mostly for comparison. We don't do a huge detailed analysis breakdown of the aura. It's just sort of a point in time that we want to go back. It's a reference point. This looks very healing to me. This looks very, very good. And we do see sort of a little bit of a gray or almost like a pallor down below here, and a bit of cloudiness up here. So we'd like to see all of that begin to clear out. So it's in particular, it's a past stroke, and that's all cardiovascular stuff. So we want to think a lot about all things related to the heart. Okay, so then right away you can think toroidal field. Adding the toroidal field from sacred geometry, adding the Fibonacci sequence, because we're going to bring in the positive energy of making systems work better again, bringing in those good systems. We're going to maybe bring in the energy of Centauri, which is a flower essence. We're going to look at the vessel harmonizing system. So we want to definitely look at the vessels. We want to look at all things related to the heart panels. So let's first look. We also do see some blue energy over here in today's stress. So let's get a sense of today's stress. So cardiovascular, in very much preventive by diet and lifestyle, but there could have been other exposures, also emotions. What kind of heart break or, things that pull, at your heartstrings has that person experienced? That all of these things are related, right? Heart rate variability is related to your level of stress. And we know that difficulty or imbalances in heart rate variability can lead to cardiovascular stress and be associated with cardiovascular events. So diet, lifestyle, level of stress, and emotional. Have the past heart breaks been resolved? So we go down here, we include what's in blue, kidneys. So I'm, making notes in my notebook. Okay, kidneys, that may not be related directly to the heart, but perhaps it's related to circulation. And kidney energy, think about the person who's always really working very, very hard, even past their level of exhaustion, or very, going to push their will to the limits of what they can do. So that's the energy of the kidneys. When you see it at 13, there's a compression of the energy. There's basically an imbalance, maybe a burnout of the kidneys or some type of kidney issue. Also can have to do with hydration. So is the person hydrating properly? Sensitivities has come up here, and it also came up here. So I want you guys to look for that kind of echo in your cases. So sensitivity. So now it's telling us most likely that there is something going on related to the food. So there's either a food is really irritating the gut. It may be in the context, it could be related to the stroke, it could be unrelated, or it could be related to heart condition, it could be unrelated. So we have to sort of sort that out. So it tells us coffee, whoops, it's okay to put the other one in there. And then we go down to the bottom. I'm also always looking at things below 200 or above 600. So sometimes less or more. So coffee and sugar. So if coffee and sugar is actually a part of his life, then that may be something that he wants to think about removing, because both of those things could negatively affect cardiovascular health. I've also noticed that cardiovascular health can be a deficiency, like a deficiency of B vitamins, or it can be greatly helped with coenzyme Q10. It can also be greatly helped with magnesium, can really greatly open the vessels. But here we're thinking about electrical flow, we're thinking about proper flow through the vessels, we're thinking about stress management, we're thinking about increasing heart rate variability. All of those are very, very important. Okay, so dust, there could be dust in the home or dust in the office. A liver, maybe the liver is more sensitive or sensitized right now. Something having to do with cat, it could be cat dander, but probably the really operative one that we're looking at here, if you just think about it, is the sugar, very, very low. So whether it's sweets or it's insulin regulation, something going on there. The real there's lots of things I've talked about in the different cardiovascular classes that I've given. There's a whole sort of, things that are related to it could be nervous system lack of flow, stress, the vitamins, the development of homocysteine due to a lack of folate. So there's a lot of moving parts to this. So we're just looking and observing right now. We saw that sensitivities are important. So we take that into, we sort of look at that. And we can look at the vessel health. Let's look at the vessel harmonizing program and look at the major vessels. I actually want to go here to the libraries. I think I've added them. All right. So we're going to do a big assessment here of all the panels. I just do that because it is much easier. And then we're going to get a quick switch there. There we go. All right. So now we're going to just input vessel harmonizing because I have things in particular that I want to look at. So here I would like to do just the major vessels, and we do see energetic considerations comes up. So we'll look at that. And we want to look at the major arteries. So let's get those in there. That's going to give us an idea of where blockages are. It's also going to give us the opportunity to open up those blockages. So the abdominal aorta, that's those, these are the big vessels, the dorsal scapular artery that's around the shoulder, brachiocephalic. It's so interesting. I always see these kind of shoulder neck arteries come up. And this makes sense because the common carotid artery, this is the one that runs in the neck. So this is something that, and we do see the left common carotid artery too. This could have led, these blockages could have led to the lack of flow to the brain that could have been related to the event. So these are immensely important to run often. We want to see them come out of the red zone and move from the 600s into the 500s. They're also really, really helpful to have them down in that main hold tray or in the quick zap. We want to be working on them. We want to be sending the harmonizing energies there. The harmonizing energies work on many different levels. It's going to work on the subtle body, so that the subtle body might say, I need to take better care of myself, or I need to do something about this. So it's working in a myriad of different ways beyond just poof, opening the vessel, although that can be a part of it as well. So the person may feel like, oh, they're getting more circulation to their brain, but they also may have a new epiphany or a new awareness, even without your input, about what they need to do, because what the genius is doing is giving them energetic information. It is innate intelligence that is speaking to their higher self. So it's really even a conversation beyond just you and your client. There's a lot going on here. And that's why subtle frequencies are so different from just running like a rife frequency. So we go down to the lower part and we've got the perineal artery. These are down in the legs. The celiac artery, I'm not sure if that's around the neck or lower extremity. External iliac artery, that's definitely in the leg. So there's a lot of, looks like there's perfusion down in the extremities that is compromised. And this is very, very common when there are more issues with the vessels, then peripheral perfusion becomes decreased. Now, not for this gentleman in particular, but something you can look for when you're at the store and you're waiting online, there's nothing to do. Look at people who are wearing shorts. Do they have scars, or in their sandals, do they have, fungus on the feet, or do they look like they have telangiectasias or spider veins? All of these things are signs that the peripheral perfusion, the good circulation to the extremities, has begun to decrease. And this is where you want to do things to open up the circulation. So we see that sort of that pattern here. So it's of immense importance to do something, to increase the circulation. So we see the left and right coronary artery. So this is a good panel for him to run daily. If he doesn't have the genius, then sending him a quanta capsule and then sending him these frequencies every day. And so becoming more aware, there is a tremendous value to the person beyond a heart scan or MRI imaging, to be able to check in daily and see what's going on with them. It's a reality check. It's like, okay, you know what? I need to do this. I need to work on this until I see those numbers go from the ends, from the edges of below 200 and above 600 into the middle, 200 to 600. What do I need to do to get there? Maybe I need to take arginine. Maybe I need to exercise. Maybe I need to change my diet. Whatever it is, then you have at least this way a reality to be able to check in and see how you're doing, as I often say, to see where you are in space and time. So let's look at this one. Interesting that Vessel Solutions energetic considerations came up. So this gives us some energetic directions for people to create that energy. So for him to create healthy DNA, to create more alignment, like alignment with the heart, diminish free radicals, clear calcifications, repair vessels. Those are the ones that are coming up for him. We can also look at different solutions. What are some of the best solutions for him to use to improve that circulation, right? That's something you want to know because there are so many things that could be used. So we've got garlic, just an energetic direction, enhance vessel health. That's an energy that we send just overall to enhance vessel health. Serapeptase, because a wonderful blood thinner and opens up blockages. L-arginine, as I talked about, L-arginine. There's some ways to take L-arginine that we could talk about. We should probably take it with L-lysine. We could talk about some of the subtleties of that. But L-arginine known to increase nitric oxide. Very, very important for preventing a further, what we call a cerebrovascular event. Okay, that brain event. So it's going to open up, again, it's all about opening up the circulation, aligning with the heart, connecting with the power of love in any way that feels right for that person. One of the ways I do that in an amusing or lighthearted way is the hawthorn berry solid extract, because this is plant spirit medicine. When they take the hawthorn berry and they put it in some water and they make a tea out of it, it comes as like a jam, they connect with their heart very naturally. There's an energetic piece to hawthorn berry. There's the energy of plant spirit medicine, speaks to us in mind, body, and spirit. Turmeric is something that resonates for him. Magnesium glycinate, the energy of magnesium, very, very good. If somebody is having an event, it's amazing how much magnesium can dilate those major arteries very, very quickly. So magnesium is something that he may want to take every day. Sometimes it takes people 6 months of pounding the magnesium to really make a difference. Another magnesium that I've recommended in the past is Magnilavers, the magnesium taurate, very, very good, the powder. Iodine, vitamin C, these are all like sort of calling to his energy field. We go down to the bottom. What are the lower ones? Bromelain, excellent enzyme. So it suggests that there are maybe some blockages, right? Some metabolic waste that could be better cleared. Any of the blood, the consistency of the blood could be thinned through the serapeptase or the bromelain. That's what the whole idea of Coumadin, right? If this guy goes in to see a doctor, the first thing he's going to get is some wonderful rat poison, some wonderful Coumadin. That's the only way that they know of that is valid to them in the medical field to thin the blood. So that person, typically, if they are going to intersect with a medical professional, they're going to be on Coumadin pretty much that day and then for the rest of their life. Trying to get these folks to get off of Coumadin with their cardiologist is just nearly impossible, because if that person gets off the Coumadin and then has an event, guess who is on the line? Their cardiologist. And so they had this one tool in their tool chest to deal with this. Unfortunately, you're going to worry all the time about your ability to clot after that. So much better to have other things that can thin your blood, and namely getting on a plant-based diet would be one of the best ways to correct any issues in the blood. Hawthorn berry, magnesium taurate, that's the Magnilavers. So all those things, sort of, we see the echo or we see it coming up again. It probably seems repetitive, like why do you have hawthorn berry and hawthorn berry solid extract? Sometimes I just like to see the confirmation, but also hawthorn berry could be given as a tea. It could be given as a powder. You can actually eat the berries themselves. So that's why it's sort of there. You could get it in different forms. And a form that really called to him was the solid extract. This is from a company called Wise Woman Herbals, or the company Gaia makes it as well. So all of these would probably be great, to work on for him at the capillary level. It's great, but you want to get those pieces in there. What you're doing is you're creating an energetic soup with as many details about the issue as possible so that you can send the energies in that particular direction. So we've got the blood-brain barrier, we've got some inflammatory markers, cytokines, and you could create as many panels that are related to heart health as you want. We do have let's look at the cardiovascular panels under heart health. Okay, so these are all the heart panels. And so in heart health assessment, let's see what comes up. These are energetic readings. These are not exactly a diagnosis, or they're not a diagnosis at all. Things come up in the energetic field before they come up in the physical body. Magnesium deficiency, so we talked about the magnesium, atrial fibrillation, inflammation, a vitamin A deficiency, high homocysteine. So this is where we want to get those B vitamins. I recommend the Max BND, and especially if he has the MTHFR mutation. If he has some type of mutation that affects his methylation, then this could be affecting the health of the vessels. Mitral valve prolapse, so telling us one thing going on with the valves. And there we go. There's the sugar. Now you see the sugar intake excessive. He may not have sugar intake excessive per se, but you guys trying to get sugar out of your diet, even as an aspiring healthy person, is more and more difficult. You go to get the rice milk, there's cane sugar in there. You go to get whatever it is, you go to get the healthy coconut yogurt and somebody stuck some sugar in there. So you have to read all the labels and make sure everything is unsweetened. And then you have to see if your carbohydrate intake is excessive for you. And this is something I'm really working on honing to give this information to you in terms of this information about blood sugar. A ketogenic diet is too extreme, you guys, especially for women. But when we put them on a starch-based diet, I am finding that also for women and for men, sometimes it is too much carbohydrate, even healthy carbohydrate. So we have to back that off and get even the plant-based protein up to a certain degree. That protein level needs to come up compared to the carbohydrate. So we may need some specific modulation in the food. Really interesting statistic that I heard, or piece of research that I heard, is that if you have any amount of belly fat, if your little tum-tum has been building up over time, that is, now I know this is obvious to a lot of people, but that's a sign of insulin resistance. So, and I know a lot of you guys know that insulin resistance, if you have a little bit or a lot of some good old pot belly going on there, it's a sign of insulin resistance. It increases your risk of a cardiovascular event. But this is the interesting part, is that all the time before that, your body was trying to store away excess fat. And this usually happens from too much insulin in the diet, meaning too many muffins, too much pasta, even too many, dare I say, potatoes, although usually the potatoes come with butter and sour cream, but something there needs to be honed. And it could be just a lifetime of having too much carbs and building up the insulin resistance, whereas you've changed the diet, but the body hasn't changed yet. So if you have that little bit of pot belly, it means that your body has filled up all the fat, like around your liver and around your, the subcutaneous fat is filled up. And the last place for it to go, where it's really trying to compensate, is in the belly. And so it tells us that your body it doesn't want to store any more fat at this point. and you really got to get those carbohydrate and insulin levels corrected. And there's a lot to this. You can also consume too much fat and increase your insulin levels, so you have to be very careful. And that's something you could see me for a consultation if you want more information about. So the sugar intake, it may not be just, hey, he's eating candy all day. He's probably really trying to correct his diet, and these are some of the nuances of it. Now, the methylation defect is interesting because that means you really need to get that methylated folate, which reduces the homocysteine levels and causes the vessels to be of better health. So this is kind of a nuance that a lot of people, even your really healthy plant-based folks, kind of miss out. They may need a way more folate than their body has been taking in. I mean, some of it could be gotten through eating lots of leafy green vegetables, but it may be very beneficial for a time to supplement with methylated folate. It says C-reactive protein is high. There's some glycosylation. So when we're looking at the root cause of why the vessels aren't as healthy as they could be, it does seem that there is a carbohydrate sugar aspect, because glycosylation means typically the person hasn't been regulating their blood sugar very well over the past few months. So then that's it. That goes all the way up to 200. We don't really go beyond 200. You could look at some of the things if they seem to apply. Then you include the heart anatomy, because again, this is like we're breaking down all the different pieces. And the more detailed the pieces we get into our balancing soup, the better impact, the better effect you can have. And I mean, what doctor is able to get to all of these details in a matter of, minutes? I mean, imagine if every doctor session was this, where they would go through everything in so much detail and with such a cost savings instead of tens of thousands of dollars in imaging. Valve issue due to stimulant excess. So this is really hard to put people on the spot, like, coffee. Just be careful with the coffee and the caffeine. If there is coffee and caffeine, you need that compensatory exercise. You really need to get that cortisol out of the body. The pericardium, the endocardium, these are all like the lining around the heart, the endocardium, the inner lining of the vessels, the pulmonary artery, the sinoatrial node, a valve issue due to sleep apnea. So that's a whole other discussion, you guys. You may want to look into mouth taping. Sounds crazy. They have healthy ways to tape your mouth with a little sort of a Band-Aid around your mouth from a company called Somnifix. And when you sleep at night, if you only sleep through your nose, you will get a deeper, more healthful sleep. If you breathe through your mouth and snore or have sleep apnea and so forth, although there is a little bit of a contraindication, if you know you have sleep apnea, you may not want to do the mouth taping. So that'd probably be a subtlety we'd need to discuss. But for most people who don't have true sleep apnea, they could really benefit from mouth taping. So it's a company called Somnifix. You can get these hypoallergenic. They sound crazy to tape your mouth at night, but if you try it once, if you're a mouth breather at night, you'll wake up feeling much more rested. So the right atrium, the pulmonary valve, the mitral valve, so all of these valves need energy. There may not be a frank pathology in them, but for whatever reason, we need to get the heart, I don't know, more aligned or something to help those valves. The tricuspid valve, the aorta, the right ventricle, the inferior vena cava. So we need to do sort of a big hug to all these parts of the heart. So then we would want to include the flower essences, and then we would go into progressive insights. And we could include the emotions. That would probably be good. You can do it from the heart health emotions, or you could do it from the emotions section. So we've got hornbeam, mustard, Star of Bethlehem. I believe Star of Bethlehem is overcoming shock, which would have probably been the event itself. That would be a good flower essence for easing out some of that cellular memory. Wild oat, rescue remedy, just good overall for anything that ails you, is every house should have a little bit of rescue remedy. It's good when you're nervous about something, when you're anxious, when somebody gets injured, um, when someone's tummy is sick, when they have high blood pressure. It's good for so many things. Crab apple, elm, rock water, willow, olive. Olive is like working yourself past the level of exhaustion, which I kind of thought might be in play from the kidney energy being so low. So that's sort of that same thing. In Chinese medicine, they say, work hard, but never work yourself past the point of exhaustion, because you kind of put yourself in peril. That's not the Western way, right? The Western way is you just keep working until you just fall flat on your face. So they're trying to share some wisdom there. From all of this, we have 78 items in the lower tray. We go to the bottom right, we hit the play button. We really now want to get that aha moment about, of all of these things, what are the ones that are most significant? And what are the emotional lessons that we're really being taught here, that we're really being shown here? And when we gently and kindly discuss it with the client, then we have a new awareness that percolates. So the most important thing is to address the descending aorta. Trying to remember my heart anatomy, but it's really a major vessel, I think right around here, because it goes down, I believe it connects with the abdominal aorta. So aorta arteries bring blood to the heart, and that coronary artery, that's the blood's not getting to the heart. And that's when that person feels like, oh my gosh, I feel like an elephant is standing on my heart. What they call a heart attack is because there was not enough ability to get oxygen to the heart. And remember, pain is the body's request for oxygen. Pain is the body's request for oxygen in any thing that you're considering. So chestnut bud is wanting to learn from past mistakes. So incredibly a lot of energy around, hey, I made this thing, I did this thing before, but hey, now I'm going to learn. I'm really going to pay attention to this. I'm going to turn the corner on this. So learning, positive learning from past mistakes. Olive is exhaustion. I confused olive with oak, so I apologize. Oak is the person who works past the level of exhaustion. That I got this wrong. Olive is actually exhaustion following like a physical event. So exhaustion probably after the event. So this is just clearing out, oh my gosh, that was exhausting to go through that. Vessel repair, cytokines, so these inflammatory substances, just clearing those out. Often those can affect the health of the blood. People take NSAIDs, aspirin, and so forth in order to reduce these inflammatory substances, but we can do it naturally with enzymes and different food and dietary change. Pulmonary artery, homocysteine high. So we see that again with the idea that the B vitamins and the methylfolate will help to drive those healthy pathways that will no longer produce the homocysteine. So we always look at the top 3 flower essences and we read those with compassion, kindness. One of the most amazing things about a healer, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, is don't you always experience like sort of matching pictures with your client? Like I always feel humbled and like, oh, I'm so grateful this person came in and to work, because like we're working out a lot of our own things. And I always try to share that with people. We always have these things that we're working through and these emotional blockages and things, and try to say, hey, it's not just you, me too, working on stuff all the time. So willow is self-pity and resentment for those who have suffered adversity or misfortune and find these difficult to accept. Without complaint or resentment, as they try to judge life much by the success which it brings, they feel they have not deserved so great a trial, that it was unjust, and they become sometimes not very happy about that. They often take less interest and are less active in those things of life which they had previously enjoyed. So this is all about clearing that out. If that was something that the person experienced more like, not feeling a little sorry for themselves, then they're in the active process of clearing it out. So they're not stuck in it. It's not a constitutional piece. This is the door that they're opening for themselves. And it's important to present flower essences in that light, That isn't like, oh, you're just sitting there wallowing in self-pity. No, you're moving past it. Just even wanting to be an active part of the healing process is a sign that they're wanting to move past it. C-reactive protein, celiac artery, left coronary artery. Wow, so many of these are high. So we can hand check them, or we could have just hit the select all. I like to look at them just to see what's going on here and allow that person to see them as well. Oh, wow, that's stunning that you guys who do this every day know we don't always see so many things high. So it sort of speaks to the level of importance that he does have some type of intervention, some hopefully natural intervention, and that it's saying it's a high priority to his energy field. We did have a lot of things in there. We did have 78 items. So it's likely that, a good portion of them would be high, but interesting. So, I mean, I think it speaks to the fact that all of these things are important for him at this current time, sort of saying the immediacy of, importance of getting help. But he's getting help. He's getting help from Karen. He's probably making decision to make personal changes. He's getting help today. So, it's good, positive, very, very hopeful. Okay, so I'm just looking at some of your comments. I sometimes see a 0. 0 is like the most level of compression that you can get in a score. And a 0 indicates something very important in the case that you want to look at. Carol says she saw it in the cerebellum, and I think the cerebellum is more about balance. I'm going to try to remember all of my, physiology back and anatomy back in naturopathic school. So look up the cerebellum and what are the things that the cerebellum, what are the functions that it does, relate it to the case, and you really want to write that down in your notes and you want to pay attention to it. You want to make sure you go back and look at it because it's the highest level of compression or blockage that you can ever get. And anything that's a 0 is usually telling you something about the whole case overall. It's usually not an accident that it came up, but it means there's just no energy moving through that area. So it may be something you want to go back and make sure you run it every time for the next few sessions. Make sure that it gets out in the quanta capsule to that person that they can run that energy for themselves. So that's really, really good. Okay, so I'm a little confused about the comments I'm getting from Karen versus the comments I got from poor Ben. So he says, I quit drinking sugar a month ago. Sugar is in everything. So Colette says amazing info. Thank you so much, Colette. I appreciate it. And can I get a copy of this analysis? Yes, you're going to get a copy. We're going to post it to, we're going to post it today so you can watch this again. And then Barbara says, do you just check the high issues first and run the frequencies and then do the lower ones and run them and skip the medium ones? So Barbara, this is a common misconception about progressive insights. In progressive insights, these are the true highs and the true lows. The lows are not significant as they are in the other part of the program. In the other part of the program, they're representing energy that's not moving. They're representing compressed energy. Oh, good. He responded very, very positively. I love it. So we do the 3 minutes, and then we go back and we test the aura, and we say, is there anything else that we would like to add to this? So let's go ahead and take a look at the aura. So the low ones we don't single out and balance on their own in progressive insights, only the high items, or you can hit select all and you can do all the items at once. So that's what we're looking at there. This is looking really nice. So this is like what I call like the clear the deck aura, where it's like, okay, this is what we've been dealing with, right? We're moving the energy out, and it's sort of like we're just clearing the energy out. This is a really good time where you can focus just on that upper tray. So you can get your solfeggios, right? So let's talk about them again. Get your solfeggios, You can intentionally use number 285 because it's very good for healing or laying down optimal patterns into the tissue. So when you're working on a physical event, it's very, very good for them. So we've got 285 is here, it's 172, but let's use it anyway. And of course, 528 is great for healing the DNA. Sorry, that's just me going back and forth there. 528, and then also 852 and 417 coming up there, maybe like clearing past traumas, maybe, you know, in there, clearing past heart stuff that he's working with. Remember, 852 is awakening intuition, returning to spiritual order. And then this is all in my mastery guide. So a lot of you have that when you got your package, you got the mastery guide. And then we've got 417 is clearing the effects of traumatic experiences and the pain or cellular memory of past events. And look at the number on that one, 417. 417. One more time. 417, so we've got a low number, not a lot of energy. Look how close 5 is to 0 that Carol just told us about. So when you see something that's low, very significant communication from the energy field. Clear the effects of traumatic experiences and the pain or cellular memory of past events when it is limiting in the present. 417 is also known as the frequency that puts you in touch with the infinity within you. So we bring that up, if I maybe already did, and then you want to look and see if there's anything else that calls to you that you want to include. So you're using the solfeggios. At the end of the session, so the first thing you do is you understand the issue, you explain it to your client, you establish that connection, you work on those flower essences, you work on the physical aspects. Then at the end of the session, you can spend about 3 minutes or more. Then you can work on those really higher energies. You can do it during the session too. You can do it during your initial analysis. You can put them down into the main hold tray. I like to intentionally, I like to use the toroids for the heart, the toroidal field, and I like to use the Fibonacci sequence, restoring the person to natural rhythms through natural sequences. You could use fractals if you want. It's totally up to you. And then we could use the Nogiers. The Nogiers are coherent frequencies that were observed by Paul Nogier that help to chime the body back into balance in different ways. And it's really good to look in the mastery guide to understand the Nogiers because they're really underutilized and they're quite powerful. So when we look at the Nogiers, Nogier A is great to run in any circumstance. It's at 600, but it helps to encourage cellular vitality. So if a person is just really tapped out, it's great. It's great to run it at the end of the session so they leave perked up and feeling good. So Nogier A, 292 hertz, encouraging cellular vitality. And Nogier, I was looking for the one that's specifically for the heart, which is Nogier C, is for the heart. At 112, we can include it up here. And Nogier E, Nogier E is used for pain control. So I don't know if there's any active pain going on there. So for pain control, by the way, for anybody who's in pain, who comes in pain, this is great. You could use it on its own. You could imprint it into water singularly. You could use it in your whole session. So it's really, really up to you. Nogier F is really good for healing emotional trauma. So 73 hertz, emotional reactions, resonates with the subcortical lower regions of the brain, includes the thalamus and the hypothalamus. Very good for improving circulation. Nogier F is good for improving circulation. So then we have 10 items in here. There's no downside to doing up to 10 items or more. It's not like a limitation in the quick zap. I've always said fewer is better in the quick zap, and I still stick by that. Like, you don't want 100 items in there, but 10 items, there's nothing wrong with it. And it's like we're working very, very specifically. We want to get those higher energies entrained into the field. We did all of this sort of difficult, grinding, tough work, right? Trudging through those initial frequencies. Then we did our harmonizing. We could have done more. We could have done 6, 9, 12, 15 minutes on that, although he responded very positively in 3, which shows you if you get the right frequencies in the tray, that it's not about the length of time. I mean, you can do more, but you really don't need to do more than 15 minutes at a time. You can. If that's your style and you like to do that, you can. But I'm really just trying to bring home the message that there's a lot happening in a short amount of time. There's a lot happening in a short amount of time. Okay, so let's see if you guys have any other comments or questions here. When the same item on the screen shows up in red at the top and blue at the bottom, explanation, please. Well, red and I think you mean similar items. Red and blue are very similar. Red and blue are nearly identical, Rita. They always are indicative of reactivity. There's something going on there between that person in their energy field. There's something up for them. So it makes sense that it would come up in a similar tone in red and blue because they're very, very similar things. They're both out of balance. We're only making a subtle distinguishing that for the purpose of our class. So Ben, you can get in touch with me by email. I'd be happy to talk to you about the results. We're going to definitely have this summarized for you in terms of the recording so you can watch it again. How did you put in the cell membrane like you did at the beginning? I missed the first 15 minutes. I actually didn't get even to add the cell membrane, so we can do a couple of extra minutes on this. So let's see where we are in terms of 39 seconds. Let's just do a couple more comments. So let's see. Okay. Barbara says, did you just check the high issues first? Okay, so we answered that one about the prioritization. And does it work through the monitor? It works long distance. Yes, the minute that you press the play button, you are sending information to consciousness. I mean, that is a direct quote from Garnett, the gentleman who contributed to the development of the Genius, one of the most brilliant developers in the field of biofeedback, and explaining to me, yes, the minute you press the play button, information is given to consciousness. It is focused on that person. It's going into the quantum field directed to them personally because they've given permission, because that's their intention, and you're working in alignment with their intention. So let's go back to the aura, and we do, I always forget if I took a picture, so we'll have a couple of pictures. Okay, so we do another check on the aura. We'll look at the cell membrane and go a couple minutes over here. Okay, so let's see. Good, good, good. I wanted to bring in the higher energies. Overall, it's looking very good. It's looking good. Let's look at the difference over time. I do see, I think some of this dark, cloudy energy is starting to move out and we'll get more evenness. I think that the healing primary color here might be blue. Trying to think of the colors. Of course, we associate green with the heart, but this could be like third eye opening. Let's just go ahead and look at the different pictures that we've taken so far. We've got this here. Okay, we've got, this was the beginning one. This was sort of clear the deck, sort of almost like a neutral piece, but we see a lot of those cloudy energies have moved out. And then the final one is this. So that's looking really, really good. So I like really running those higher energies at the end. So let's look at that cell membrane, and then we'll so you guys, if you have burning questions, final questions, anything you guys want to know, Ben, you can get in touch with me afterwards, and we can always chat and, sort of talk about this further. So having a hard time just navigating back to the libraries. Okay, there we go. So we pull up the cell membrane. I don't really have enough things in there yet to really test meaningfully, but you can use any of the items in there. So now it's not coming up. Why isn't it? Oh, I didn't add it to his profile, I think. Libraries, so add to client. I may have done it. I don't remember if I did it before or after. So let me just interject something that someone had asked. I have to go all the way back. I don't want to really cancel this out. Okay, may not be able to test them right now. Let's just see if it came up here. I don't think it did add it. Oh, there it is. Okay, good. Wonderful. So somebody said, Sherry said she was getting, let's see, whenever I go into the libraries during a session, the app closes. If that ever happens, then that is called a bug, and a bug can happen if you've not updated to the latest version of your own operating system, meaning like iOS 11.4.1. So if your operating system is not updated on your device, having nothing to do with the Genius, just on your device, you need to look at that first. If everything is operating perfectly on your device, then you want to make a note of it. If it happens once, twice, 3 times, please send a note to the developer, that being Ryan, and discuss your device, like say what the device is, what model it is, and when it was happening. We really have a very, very, very low crash rate, like 0.01%, but it's good to let us know because technology is always changing. Operating systems are changing, and so we need to constantly equilibrate with that operating system. So optimal cell membrane receptors is an interesting one that comes up for him. There's so much that you can learn from these different panels, because this one tells you optimal cell membrane receptors, that they have maybe not been as receptive, that the receptors themselves have not been working as well as they could be for whatever reason, toxins, emotional stress. And it gives us an opportunity to raise our level of awareness about it and also to do something about it. So now we can also send energy there until it moves into the middle numbers. So I put that up in the quick zap, and let's just do a 1 minute. So any final burning questions, curiosities, ideas? I really appreciate everybody here being here for the hour. If you're interested in the Genius, I invite you to go to my website, awakentotalhealth.com. awakentotalhealth.com. So again, awakentotalhealth.com. Go to the Contact Us button at the bottom right. If you like my information and you'd like my personal support when you get your system, please purchase your system through me, through my website, through calling me directly, or through the links on my website. And I really appreciate people who refer your people who are interested in the Genius directly to me. So that always, the developer always benefits, and he knows that we're out here working for him, so he always gets credit for the Genius. He's the developer of it, but it allows me and my work and my research to continue when you purchase through me, through my website, or by calling me directly. We do have a class going on called Endocrine Regeneration. So if you'd like to harmonize your hormones and understand more about the implications of estrogen and progesterone in your body and how to regenerate them with energy through the Genius, you may want to join the Endocrine Regeneration class going on now. Okay, so we did 1 minute, and let's do one more check on the aura, and then we will be done. I think Edna is on here. Edna H, actually, the one from Colorado. We have 2 Ednas on today. I'm in Colorado. When did this session start? It does start at 11 in the morning your time. It starts 11 in the morning Mountain time. So that should have been all copacetic for you. Okay, so we may be going into the cell membrane thing. May have a lot of, I'm going to run some more frequencies, but it looks like there's a lot of new activity going on. So I think that the cell membrane thing could hold a lot of weight for Ben. So we'll work with this a bit more and expand that panel. And Edna, so my fall schedule has changed. The only fall date that I'm doing is in Colorado in November. So definitely get in touch with me as soon as possible. That class is filling up extremely fast, November 2nd through the 4th in Denver. So that's going to be the fall date, and then there'll be spring dates in San Diego and elsewhere. Thank you everyone for being a part of this class. Ben, definitely get in touch. And thank you so much, Karen, for making the introduction and helping us all to be a team working together for Ben's highest and best good. Sending everybody much, much energy and lots of financial abundance for your week, everyone. Be well, have a great week, take care, and I'll see you next week. Thanks so much. Bye-bye for now.